Zach.
Paula.
Today we're going to be talking about the first episode of Yashahime, the Half-Demon Princess.
Yashahime is directed by Teru Sato. It's written by Katsuyuki Sumisawa, and it's done by Studio Sunrise.
This anime is pretty much akin to like Boruto, where they just went straight to follow up the animated series. Didn't even make a manga of it. It's kind of surprising when I found that out. And it's about Inuyasha and Kagome's kids, and it also had like all the fan service. They promised a lot of fan service. What are you guys' first impression?
First impressions for this episode, I will say I'm kind of meh. Like, it's a very like the show. This particular episode in itself does have a lot of nostalgia feels towards Inuyasha, but at the same time, like ultimately, I'm kind of meh on it. I'd have rather gone and watched an episode of Inuyasha.
I mean, I haven't seen anything of Inuyasha since I read the manga after that terrible cliffhanger ending way back when on Adult Swim. And watching this, I'm like, oh yeah, Inuyasha. I liked that at the time, but it's kind of boring, and so was this.
Yeah.
Though, like, one attack was really cool, and I'm like, oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
That was one of my favorite animes that was on Adult Swim when I was a teenager.
Yep.
And I'm a fanboy for Inuyasha. Like, I love Shomaru.
I couldn't tell.
And I always enjoyed Inuyasha and himself. I always felt bad for him because Kagome, though a kind-hearted person, treats him like absolute dirt. Though he deserved it early on in the show, I feel they did not do him justice at the end of the whole thing. And this show, just the first impression, the simplest thing to put it is, you gave me too much of fan service and not enough of the new characters you're trying to introduce. You're doing the opposite of Star Wars and just cramming all the old stuff in there.
Yep.
And the new characters could be interesting, but I have no idea yet.
Yeah, I have no idea. I hope they're interesting. I hope there's unique dynamics. Mm-hmm. And as much as I want it to play into some of the tropes that Inuyasha had, I really hope it does its own new thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this first episode would totally make me stop watching it, and from my understanding of how people have been watching it, is it was like, ooh, new Inuyasha, and we don't want to watch it anymore.
That's what I get the feeling is that's what this is going to end up being.
Oh, and these new characters are cool. Like, I'm excited for this kind of thing because it gives a lot of opportunity for new characters having having characters that aren't forced to be together. They're family and they're solving problems and they're fighting demons. I am a little uncomfortable with the fact that they're like, even though Kagome was a kid, like it's that weird classic thing that's tends to pop up every once in a while in stories to where there's like this old dude who looks young.
Yeah.
But he's a dog, so they age fast, so it's not as weird, I guess. I don't know. With this young woman who's in high school, and she's the one, at least Kagome was fawning over him, and it wasn't some creepy, Twilight thing or Angel thing where I'm watching this little girl, and I'm so in love with her, even though I'm significantly older, and nobody questions how creepy this behavior is.
I mean, Shippo is almost as old as Inuyasha.
Yeah.
But he's a full-blood demon, so he ages super slow, but he's obviously a kid. No one would think of him as anything but a kid.
Yeah.
And Inuyasha, I think it's supposed to be basically the equivalent of Kagome's age, maybe a year or two older.
Yeah.
Or at least that's how I think it was in the original.
See, I liked Sango's brother, Kohaku. Kohaku, great kid.
Yeah.
Shippo, I hated him every minute of his show. I was so mad when every minute he was doing anything, and only a few times I enjoyed him. But this show, that's the problem. I spent the whole time thinking about Inuyasha and spent absolutely no time being excited for the new show whatsoever. And I got
I was just about
filler episode of Inuyasha for a first episode.
I know.
And
Like that was occurring to me while you guys were talking. Is the fact that it's like, oh god, we're just gonna go on about Inuyasha, aren't we? We're not even gonna barely talk about this.
Any memorable moments?
we found out how many kids they had.
Yeah, we found out how many kids everybody has.
Yeah. We'll give them that. And I was excited to see them.
I was excited to see the kids. I'm
Way to
excited.
go, Moroku.
Yeah, Moroku. Yeah.
Surprised only 3.
Yeah, we know of. To be fair, we know of.
Also, so far we only know of the ones they has with her.
Yeah, that is true. I guess really the only like standout memorable scene for me is, since it's essentially a filler arc from Inuyasha, is they're fighting a demon called Roothead. They track down its main body, and like when they go to destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's the most standout scene for me. Inuyasha and Kagome do their combo attack, followed up by him using his penultimate Medea Tetsaiga, which creates like a black hole effect.
Like
I think it was Medea
Getsuga was mentioned in the...
Yeah, it's the same word they used in Bleach.
Yeah,
for this
Getsuga.
Yeah.
Well, the translation was...
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, that was really the only standout moment for me.
Yeah.
Like,
big black hole special effects thing was
that
cool.
was super cool. I love the animation for it. The demons looked really cool. Like, the animation's very clean. I enjoy the animation.
It doesn't look like it's improved that much from the original, though.
It looks like it's cleaned up. That's all I'll say. Like, I think they're trying to like, I think they're trying to keep the old style, but just make some of the lines and the shading a little bit cleaner. Just because they have better techniques now than they did, when that was so.
It looked nice.
So I think I think they're trying to keep the same art style, but just clean it up a little bit, if that makes sense. The battle with the demon was really the only standout moment for me, which is sad because
You have any memorable moments?
I mean, the black hole thing, which I had only seen in the manga before. I never saw the animated thing, if they ever animated, so that was awesome to see. It's like, oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's like, oh, hey, we get to see each of the little kids they've had.
Yeah.
Cool.
And not even Kagome and Inuyasha's kids. They don't exist yet.
Not at the time that the bulk of the episode takes place.
Yes.
But we do get introduced to two of them. We do get introduced to Towa at the very beginning, and then we get introduced to Setsuna and Moroha at the very end.
That was memorable. The only memorable moment to me is how they were connecting that stupid filler episode to the rest of the series. That root wasn't fully destroyed and went into the tree that filled in the well.
Yeah.
That was like, and that was it. And like, final thoughts on that one. I don't like, if it keeps going at this pace and it's this fillery and it's the same crap that kind of ruined and hindered Inuyasha in a way. I'm a big fanboy of Inuyasha. I enjoyed a lot of the filler and a lot of the fun little episodes because they always found a way to have a little root thing. They
had a way to make it enjoyable.
But this is the first episode. I can't recommend even watching this episode.
Yeah, I gotta agree with that. Sadly, like, I want to say watch it because it's a sequel for Inuyasha and I'm excited for it. But if I had to give it, like, if I had to do a one episode, watch it or drop it, I would say drop this, unfortunately. Like, I'm sad to say drop it because, like you, I really enjoyed Inuyasha. That's why I said, like, based on this episode, I would rather have gone back and pick any episode of Inuyasha, even the worst one. I would have rather have gone and watched that. It would have been more enjoyable and more fun. It felt like this one. My problem with this one is it felt too much like they were relying too much on nostalgia to get their audience in, and they were it really felt like they were really heavily trying to go for the nostalgia feels. Versus, like, we mentioned at the very start, like, the Boruto reference, like, how it's got that sort of similarity to it. Like, I watched the first episode of that. It is not as nostalgia filled as this is. It is not relying so much on it. Like it is. Don't get me wrong. They do make nostalgia in it, but
Separate thing, but
yeah,
quick separate thing on that though. They could be doing one thing which I might appreciate, depending on what the following episodes are, and that is they're just blasting the old ketchup out of the way, and we're not gonna have a lot of flashbacks. If they do that, no more flashbacks. This was the flashback episode, and they just go with story from now on. Maybe.
yeah. I'd have to reserve until I see the second episode. Like if that's what they end up doing,
If that's what they do,
I'll be okay with it.
Yeah.
I'd be okay with it. I'm still not happy with it, but I'd get it.
I'm gonna say this outright. If because we're trying to do 3 episodes, like the first 3 episodes of a show, if this second episode is as bad as this first episode, I'm not gonna bother with the 3rd episode because I'm just gonna say, don't waste your damn time with this lazy, cash-grubbing show. Or if, like you said, if that's the case, or even if they go somewhere even more clever than that, or even somewhere interesting, even if it doesn't have to be clever or anything, just something that gets you, it could just be mindless action of little girls beating the fuck out of demons. I'm in. Because that's what I fanboyed about.
Yeah.
When he got the Adamant Barrage, when he got the Wind Scar, when he got the Backlash Wave, when he surpassed his father, which meant nothing.
Yeah, I really didn't.
Every time he beat up Sashomaru, and Sashomaru never admitted that the Inuyasha was stronger than him. Like, that was always so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, but thinking of that though, they always made a big deal of how strong his father was, but he becomes stronger than in like the first quarter.
Yeah, he outpasses his father real quick. But yeah, that's all I gotta say on this episode, unfortunately.
Yeah. Like, maybe, like, the red thing, if that's where it's like, oh, hey, we blocked off the time travel thing, so maybe now Kagome and Inuyasha might not be in the show, for all we know. If they go that route also, that could be interesting.
That could be.
But that's potential, and we don't know what this show will do with it.
Yeah.
There's so many different directions you can go in, and a lot of them seem like they're just going to do the same thing as opposed to what so many good animes have been doing now. Even Naruto. I've watched a little of that. I'm not a fan of Naruto whatsoever. We'll get into that when we finally get around to talking about Naruto. Because I'm going to tear that one apart.
Yeah.
I strongly disagree. But Naruto, at least, was interesting enough to, like, I could enjoy the things, and I was like, that's fun. It's interesting.
Yeah, for that one, nostalgia was a backdrop. It was like, it was, hey, we're gonna show the father that
what Star Wars wished they could do.
Yeah, they show the parents periodically, but it follows the kid.
Yeah,
because the story's about the next generation, not we're following the next generation while they hear stories about their parents the whole time.
Yeah,
like that's what this episode was. Is you see one of the kids, then they're told a story about their parents, and then you get introduced to 2 of the other kids.
Yeah.
And that's where it ends.
And then you find out critical information in the teaser for the next episode.
Yeah. Yeah, the teaser has, like, super critical information. I really hope that that's not the only critical information you learn, because if that's the only good thing about the next episode, I will drop this show.
Yeah, we should never watch such good anime before doing this show.
I know.
Hey, you know what? We need to come across a bad egg.
Yeah. We were going to come across it eventually.
And I'm hoping that this gets better, because that's the one nice thing about episodic shows that are like this. Nothing changes. The status quo is always the same, no matter how dire the consequences or circumstances of an event are. So, like, that's why I'm giving it another chance, because I reckon this formula, and I'm a fanboy. Huge fanboy of Inuyasha. So they get a lot, like, I would have already dropped it, and I may miss a great show that I find out about in a couple years. You gave up on the first episode? Well, that's kind of what happened to me with Harry Potter. Stopped reading halfway through the 3rd book. And everyone's like, that's when it gets good. Well, why wasn't it good at the beginning? Sorcerer's Stone was awesome.
Yeah.
Don't watch it.
You know what? We'll tell whether or not to watch it after the next episode, because we might not do a 3rd.
Yeah.
Don't waste your time with this episode. Maybe skip to the 2nd episode. Oh, it's episodic. Everything's status quo, and they'll explain this 6-7 more times with 17 flashbacks. Guaranteed.
This
No matter how good it gets.
mentioning that this may end up turning into a Gungrave series where you skip the first episode to enjoy it.
Or Berserk.
Or Berserk, yeah. Yeah,
Berserk was great with
this
that.
may end up being one of those series where to enjoy it you have to skip the first episode.
Or watch it Tarantino style and just pick random episodes. You're not gonna miss nothing.
Yeah.
Either way, though, I think that wraps it up for this episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed.
Like, comment, and subscribe for more content, and get that bell on.
For updates, please follow us on Twitter and Facebook. The links are down below.